Okay, we are live. I am delighted to have an old friend and a very special guest, probably someone who I've done most episodes with, William Ramsey of William Ramsey Investigates. It seems like old times, talking about the West Memphis 3 child killers. Welcome, William Ramsey.
Roberta, great to be with you. Thanks for having me. It's been too long.
It really has been too long. So I wanted to, how, for those that don't know, Stevie Branch, Mike, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were murdered on May 5th, 1993, in the
West Memphis.
Robin Hills section of
Robin
West
Hood,
Memphis, Arkansas, and three um, teenagers were convicted of the crime: Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly. Today we're talking about Damian Eccles, who really was really the impetus to getting these people out. It was really always all about Damian Eccles and his sidekick. I call him the Sal Mineo of this story, Jason Baldwin. They are once again having a falling out, and I didn't realize how much they've fallen out with each other until I started to research this episode. But let me just show you the post that inspired this episode. This is from West Memphis 3 Facts on Facebook, put it up. Jason Baldwin says, "F you, Damian Eccles. You have been the worst friend a guy could ever hope for. F you and your lies."
Pretty powerful. They've been tied to the hip since 1993. That's a long time. Almost 40 years. It's unbelievable.
Right.
But continuous lies and slanders.
So, they're all, it's an odd thing because they all got out. And how would you describe, this is in 2011, and we'll look at the press conference that got them out, but how would you describe why the West Memphis 3 got out of prison? How and why?
Pressure on the legal system. That's the way I would typify it or talk about it. It was long-term pressure. And I think what happened is there was a switch in the judge and the prosecutor. So they have a new prosecutor who may want to not take the case and doesn't want the publicity because there was so much publicity and celebrity backing. And then I think that they just said, well, okay, you're guilty and we'll have you for the 19 years you've served and get out of my courtroom. And I think they agreed to it. So they did something rare for people that haven't heard me drone on about the West Memphis 3 for forever, almost 15 years now. It is a unique case. It's very rare for people to be convicted twice. So they were convicted by two different juries back in 94. And then they signed on the dotted line on August 2011 to first-degree murder again. And you have their signatures. And then they bolted like a bat out of hell,
Right.
Really.
That was an Alford plea where they're allowed to maintain their innocence, but they admit that the state had enough evidence to convict them, but it's legally a guilty plea. So
They were on probation for 10 years. They were on probation for 10 years. So there was a guilty plea. That's correct. And they're like, I don't think that Eccles could travel outside of the country where he had difficulty doing that. So he had a probation officer, and there were rumors that he had to go back and stand before his probation officer for being involved in a clip of a film with Genesis P. Orge where he held a gun, because I guess that was one of the terms of his probation. I don't know if you remember that.
They violated their probation constantly. Most famously, Jesse Miskelly was driving like a maniac, and he went back to West Memphis to a trailer park, and he got busted, and nothing happened to him for driving without a license, and apparently he had other infractions too. The police had to be called. I think he hit his partner, girlfriend, lady friend, and the police had to be called. So, I mean, just nothing happened. So, I mean, people say, oh, they're on probation, everyone's keeping an eye. I mean, nothing much was ever done.
Yeah, Jesse was known for throwing hands before he was arrested, so it's kind of consistent behavior if that's the case. But yeah, I don't think they ever were, you know, censured by the probation officer or whatever in any way, shape, or form, not to my knowledge. But they lived it up. I mean, he got out, he traveled with all his best friends, came to Hollywood, went to concerts. Jason Baldwin raised $29,000 for his book.
Oh
So
wait, yeah. Let me show you. I actually have that up, which he never produced. There's another thing. I mean, you could arguably say that's fraud. That's flat out fraud. I mean, are you allowed to commit fraud on your never produced a book? Here it is. Here's this Kickstarter.
funded in 2013. So he's out in
Right,
2011, 2013. So it's been over 10 years.
right. And
You,
people been asking about it. I think. Hold on.
yeah, you have to read the comments. Like, what happened to this project? Where is this?
I actually have it. Wait, hold on 1 second. Whoa, somewhere in here. I think. Wait, hold on. I think I pulled it up. It's on Facebook. Yeah, here we go. I have so much stuff that I'm so excited to talk about this. Like I have so much stuff up. I think this is it. Yeah.
And just for people who haven't seen our show, one of our best shows among all of our great shows, just to mention, you mentioned at the intro, you've been on my show the most, and I get the most accolades from you. So all my guests are like, get Roberta back. So I got to get you back in rotation.
Thank you.
But
That's
we've
nice.
done the most shows. And one of my favorites you and I did was the analysis of Eccles on Tim Pool. So if people want to get an idea of just the dissembling and Tim Pool not doing a very good prep job at all on that, go listen to the show we did because it's 2 hours. It's actually kind of a revealing thing because he says a lot of stuff in there that his PR people I don't think would been very happy with. He's like, yeah, we were maniacs back then, and there's a lot of interesting statements.
So this is like 10 pages of people asking him. This is from my Facebook group that I sadly don't do much with anymore. I'm not great on Facebook. I just don't really naturally take to it. But thank you for I'm much more on X if you want to follow me on X. But thank you for the update. Do you have any rough time frame you're aiming for? I'm curious. Like people are asking 10 pages of people asking where the book is. Just no, just no answer. But you also had. I seem to have lost it. Can you send it to me again?
Yeah, I can. Do you want me to bring it up? I can.
Yeah,
this is from the. I wish I had a date on this because I don't think I do. But this was one of the other things that he said. Do you remember when this was? This is from West Memphis 3 Facts, which is a great website. If it's still up? I don't know if it is, but
it's still up, and
okay,
it's linked in this episode's description,
okay, cool.
Along with almost everything that we show.
I'll read this. Why are you and Damien no longer friends? Charles Jason Baldwin says, he and his wife systematically and consistently hurt me, and for many, many years in their efforts to, quote, own the story, unquote, and I just refused to see it for so long, but now my eyes are open, and I can never forgive them. All caps, never. So this is definitely after their release. But they were seen together after the release, smiling and hamming it up. I think in New York City. So
yeah, but then there was another falling out. That's the one I remember. There's another falling out, but also Damien Eccles also threw Jason under the bus after when his book came out. So it's like
Life
Damien
After
Eccles
Death
was very upset that.
Jason
Baldwin was getting money from Devil's Knot, but Devil's Knot, which is based on Mara Levitt's book, which we could go off on a whole nother tangent just about that book, but that was basically like Jason's story, sort of, right? Am I wrong?
Right. No, she wrote a book basically about Jason too. So that right. She wrote Devil's Knot, and the other one was something different.
Oh, okay. So that was different.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but he signed on, but he already had a relationship with Mara Levitt because of that book. And Damien had several objections to the Devil's Knot script, though he had not met with the producers to discuss his concerns directly. I pursued a meeting with the producers to address those concerns because the movie was going to be made with or without us. I wanted to make sure it was as accurate as possible. And Eccles said, unfortunately, the making of Devil's Knot drove a wedge between Jason and I. I was deeply hurt when he chose to take part in it. However, that doesn't mean I love him any less. Well, they seem to love each other less now. That's for sure.
Right. The book that Leverett wrote was supposedly the sequel to Devil's Knot. It's Dark Spell, Surviving the Sentence.
That's right. That's right. And your book is called Abomination, and I highly, highly recommend everybody read it about the West Memphis
2012,
It's really clear.
It's all court records. There's not a lot of speculation or personal opinion in it. That's for sure.
No, it's really clear, really easy to understand. Gary Meese's books are great, but they go into a lot of the really details, of the crime.
He was right there in West Memphis with some of the early guys, Parasquee, if you remember him. So he's a great resource. I highly recommend them. There's been some books that have come out. One very recently, which I wouldn't touch with a 1,000-foot pole. Like, terrible. I don't want to promote it, but like the same old tired stories that we've covered with Bob Ruff. Animal predation.
The guy Sean Atwood had on.
Yeah, that's bad.
He's the biggest innocence fraudster. That Sean Atwood, he pushes more of this innocence fraud. And
I've got new information. It's the same old story. Like, I found out something new nobody saw before. It's the same stuff.
Right.
I'm willing to go to court.
He called the episode the first thing I called my episode, which is West Memphis 3 Solved, which was the first thing I ever did. So do you remember when there's apparently a new video out? I haven't watched the whole thing, but it's called Are the West Memphis 3 Really Guilty? And it's done like really well on YouTube, way better than any of my videos have, certainly on this subject. And it's having people come to, I think that's why people are coming to my West Memphis 3 videos all of a sudden. Interesting. But do you remember what it was like back when they got released in 2011, when your book was released, saying that the West Memphis 3 were guilty publicly? What that was like? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was the least popular opinion in the world when I published that book, because I had gone through a lot of head scratch. I thought that they were innocent. So when they got out in August 2011, I had watched the news and I was like, oh, must have been a technicality. And then I started like researching, and I'm like, there's problems here. They're guilty again. Like, I literally was scratching my head, like just doing ridiculous stuff. Why are these people saying this? I didn't know their celebrity friends were all of a similar ilk, I would say. But like, there was a lot of things I didn't understand. Why are these two parents changing their stories? Like, why is John Mark Byers and some of these people pictured with him? Like, there's very strange elements. Why is Johnny Depp helping him on his book tour, Life After Death, which says some interesting things about Eccles and his girlfriend, former girlfriend, who had to go like de-occult training or something like that. But yeah, they were after me. Like, they wanted to get me with anything they got. So it was interesting. I didn't know. I stepped into the hornet's nest, so to speak, because I didn't know how passionate people were. And my social media, I have all the screenshots somewhere of just, oh, you're going to jail. You're terrible. They like bombarded my Amazon account with everything, voting down. I mean, you know this too, but voting down all my stuff, giving it 1-star reviews. So it was quite the insight. I never changed my opinion, but guilty is guilty. And some people use this term very loosely, but it's really a legal term. They were found guilty twice, guys, and they haven't been able to overturn that, whatever happens in the PR or the court of public opinion. But
they have no alibi. Everything, everyone pointed to, they've all confessed, and Jesse Miskelly has confessed multiple times post-conviction. I think I remember you saying to me in one episode, it was like holding up your hand to a dam and just like trying to stop. And I think of that analogy all the time, because I talk about I have so many unpopular opinions, and I talk about guilty killers and innocence fraud. And I feel that what that's like. I know, and also very mentally unwell people, very aggressive people. I had one person come and follow me from my comment to my channel. It wasn't even a channel then. I didn't even have a podcast. I just like expressed my opinion, and they followed me back. At that time, my channel just had a video of my cat eating cantaloupe, and he said, "I'm going to come kill your cat."
Wow.
So
Wow, that's intense.
So yeah.
Well, I found out that it was Eccles was on two of my book sites under a different name, Avid Reader, where he was writing stuff, so I could bring those up. But yeah, so it was not a popular opinion at that time. I actually, it was great because I met all the people who were saying, "Hey, this is a problem." Like West Memphis 3 Facts. There were a couple other guys, and there's like a little community of us who are like, "Look at the court case, guys. Look at these records. They're incredible."
Tiny little community.
Yeah.
Tiny little community.
Gary Meese.
Right. Gary Meese.
Molinax,
the rest of
right?
us were saying, "Hey, nice to see you, Wesley. Loves Oktoberfest. Thank you. Please hit the thumbs up and hit the like." But there was just a tiny community of us. The rest of the world was saying, these are innocent people. How can you be so wrong? Blah, blah, blah. And let's just look without further ado, I want to look at the press conference. This was August 19th. We just did the June 19th holiday. The West Memphis 3 actually want us to celebrate August 19th, the day that they got released from prison. This is they had, what was it, $20 million, $10 to $20 million.
10 to 20 estimate, yeah.
Yeah, that was spent on the campaign after these HBO flicks called Paradise Lost, where they left the real evidence against the West Memphis 3 on the cutting room floor. After those came out, they had all these lawyers trying to get them out by hook or by crook, anything. And the best that they could come up with, they had tested this DNA, and no one's ever seen that DNA evidence from 2011. They blamed it on a new stepfather after blaming John Mark Byers for years. And they blamed it, but nobody's ever seen those results. Now they're asking, they've tested more stuff, and it's supposed to come next month. So I wonder if some of this stuff is nervousness. There always seems to be nervousness over these DNA tests, but if it's bad, I think they'll just shelf it and no one will ever see it. No one in the press is asking, why didn't you release the DNA test that you did from 2011? Instead, you chose to take an Alford plea and plead guilty.
Right. Good point. That's a very good point. It should have been just overwhelming evidence. Like, hey, here it is. It's not us. Right. But absence of DNA doesn't mean they committed. It's called the CSI effect. Like, oh, there's no DNA there, they weren't there. Yeah, that's not the case. Sorry.
Right. Sometimes the killer, I interviewed John Lewin, and he made some good points on it. He's like, sometimes the killer knows that his DNA is not going to be there. Sometimes he knows about someone who wasn't caught. He knows that their DNA is going to be there. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, and they just ask to test it because they know, like in the case of Julius Jones or Kevin Cooper. Oh gosh. Purvis Payne. When they do test the knives, this is the Innocence Project, who has supported the West Memphis 3. When they do test the evidence and it comes back with their client's DNA, they don't walk away. They just double down on innocence. So, it's not particularly damaging. They overturned Purvis Payne's, death sentence, and he may be out in a few years. That's one of the worst cases I've ever, talked about. So, it doesn't seem to push away this movement. But let's take a look at this amazing press conference together.
Hey, Steve. Somebody try to call Lori or that's not good.
Do you know where Lori Davis was? This is Damien Echols' wife, who he married in prison.
I don't. That far left guy, that's Dennis Reardon. He's now in hell burning. But he's a great lawyer. He was a great appellate lawyer.
Wait, you mean he's in hell burning? Like he's
like he's no longer among the living. Yes.
Really?
He's passed away. Yeah.
With a beard?
Yeah, he's right there with the beard. He's standing above Eccles.
I always wondered who that was. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Because
pretty sure that's Dennis Reardon. It's interesting. I was in San Francisco after I published Abomination, and his partner in his law firm and I were close to each other at a restaurant, at a kind of a nice Italian restaurant in San Francisco. And he didn't know who I was, but I was like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are."
I know who you are. That took a lot of self-control not to say anything. I would have, I would have been tempted. I don't know if I would have said anything, but I would have been tempted.
I would have. I mean, it was interesting. I'll leave it at that. I've had some interesting experiences with some West Memphis 3 people.
So look how prepared the West Memphis 3 are. Even Jesse Miss Kelly, not the brightest bulb in the tree, hardly, disabled in the way that just not the brightest guy, but they want to make him like, they're bringing down his IQ every time they talk about
the
him.
magical deflating IQ, right?
Totally. But look how prepared they are, and look how the lawyers swoop in and constantly hammer home innocence and make it seem like the state demanded that they take this deal or offer the deal. This was a deal that the defense asked for.
Correct.
Okay. It's not the prosecution were set to retry a case. And can you talk a little bit about why cases are so hard to retry 18 years later?
There's evidence gets missing. There's the people who are around can't testify. There's just so many elements to it. Like that's like an eternity for a court case. So usually you have to have everybody there for criminal or civil things, like what's going on, because you need these people to come in. There's changes of the guard. There's people who may not be as familiar. The cops have all retired. So it would have been a real challenge for the state at that time in 2011 to retry these guys in an incredible way. And one of the interesting things, I think that all of the Sixth Amendment violations were rejected. So they had good counsel, and they couldn't do it with this. So the original ones, I think, in the appeals were all rejected, but they couldn't do this. They had the best attorneys available. They had endless money. They had the backing of Johnny Depp and Peter Jackson et al., among others. So these are all really great. Dennis Reardon is a great lawyer. He was that baseball player who took a lot of, like, his head size doubled or something like that. Like the guy from San Francisco, he represented him and got him up on a misdemeanor.
Like Barry Bonds, or who was the other one, McGuire? Yeah. Am I going too far back?
No. That's it. But it's just the fact that it would have been really hard for them to retry this case. And I think they were under a lot of pressure, just like I said earlier. You have to remember at that time, almost the majority of people in the public thought that they were convicted for a crime they didn't commit. That was their axiom. That was the thing that they just said over and over. Almost every article, every missive, everything that was put out in the newspapers had that in the first sentence. Damien Echols, convicted for a crime he didn't commit.
That's right. It's the brainwashing.
Yes.
I don't believe there's been one skeptical article. That's not a local article, because I think the best true crime coverage comes from the local press, not our national press. But I'm talking about our national press. There hasn't been one skeptical article about the West Memphis 3. It's all supporting this narrative. Poor Damien Echols in prison, whatever the latest lie is. Nobody remembers how many lies they've told and how they've got caught up in their lies, because, as Americans, we have the memory of a goldfish. I don't even know if that's true, if goldfish really do have such a bad memory. We have a terrible memory. Nobody remembers anything. But listen to how he says, I'm Damien Echols. I'm this old, and I was convicted. I was on death row, convicted, exactly what you said, for a crime I didn't commit. Take a listen, and I might skip forward a little bit because
I did.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Oh, here we go.
My name is Damien Echols. I'm 36 years old and released today from death row for a crime I did not commit over 18 years ago.
Dang. I mean, if we could make a drinking game anytime they said crime I didn't commit or innocent in this thing.
We'd have cirrhosis within a day or two. There's no question about it. Yeah, they were trained. They had PR people. They had a big wig PR person whose name escapes me right now.
Lonnie Surrey.
Lonnie, sorry, yeah, he loved me. He was like really a friend. He would insult me all the time. I had to block him on social media. He was always after me, man. He was really something else. But I've
He also
never been
he,
sued for the West Memphis Three, by the way. I've not been taken to court over anything I've said or written. Yeah.
Strange, because you've been very outspoken. You haven't been like just out here, watching your words carefully. You've been very outspoken.
There's so many little elements. This is so important. This thing here, if you remember his rental garage, it was another element. The stories where he was telling stories in public. The Pierce Morgan interview, which you have, is great. It's really one of my favorite clips of all time.
It's coming.
And him doing his own West of Memphis documentary, where he admits at the end, he's like, I wanted to be the greatest magician of all time. Like, he literally admits that in his own word.
So what does that mean to you? So for someone like me who's not an expert in Crowleyism or Satanism, or what does that mean when you say you want to be the greatest magician of all time? What does that really mean?
It's a good question. It sounds like you want to be a magician who does like pulling a rabbit from a hat or card tricks. But he's saying it within this kind of occult tradition of like a magician with a wand. Like, he literally owns wands, by the way, and crystal balls, like somebody has control over reality, of all reality. So I think that's what he's saying. And that's why he spells it with a K, much like Crowley did. And he was a member of the OTO too. So that's kind of why this whole thing for West Memphis 3 started. I came from a different angle than you. You've always been on in my opinion, my view is like innocence fraud. But I had come off just researching Crowley for like 2 years. So when I saw this thing in this one clip from Paradise Lost, where they had magic in theory and practice on the desk of the prosecutor, I think his name was Price, I was like, what? Crowley was involved in this? Because I didn't have that reading. So it like clicked for me. And then I looked through and there's like all kinds of occultism in this case. So for me to hear him say that is like a real admission of what his sensibilities and mentality. And then through more research, you realize that he's into this stuff, meditation, channeling chi or vril, really doing his, he said that he turned his jail cell into like a magical studio or something like that. I forget his different terms, but it really opened up, like hearing him say that stuff just confirmed this whole legacy where he's got his own tarot cards and his own magical thing. He started something in Salem, Massachusetts. Like, he went there because of the witch trials. Like, he felt at home there. That's how I hooked up with Mike Blatty, Peter Blatty's son, who's still a friend of mine. I think I just have to get back on Facebook. But he was writing. That's how you and I hooked. That's where we kind of crossed paths, was Michael Blatty talking about Eccles in town as a convicted murderer. He was putting it into the local kind of a message board there. And there were battles between him and some of these other Eccles West Memphis 3 sympathizers. But just to answer your question, this word magician is very specific to kind of like Crowley and occultism. Like, that book is named Magic in Theory and Practice, MAGICK.
And what does that mean? You mentioned that his books and stuff were found that were kept for him in prison, his storage space. Can you talk a little bit about that? And we'll get into, there's so much to talk about, but can you talk about just briefly what that means when you say his storage space? He
had a storage space with his wife, and he kept a lot of stuff there. The guy who bought it, I talked to, he was in Arkansas. It was in, I think, northern Arkansas, close to the border, Missouri, I think, or is it Iowa? Anyway, it's close to like the Mena, Arkansas area, but I think it's Jonesboro or something. I don't know off the hand. Anyway, the guy was like one of those guys you see on TV who buys abandoned rental facilities. So he bought it not knowing, and it turned out to be Eccles and his wife. And inside were just tons and tons of books. People had sent Eccles all these magic books and occult books, and over, so they kept them and then they abandoned them. So this guy bought them. He said that there were some interesting writings in Eccles' handwriting, which is, let me see if I can bring them up. But like, He's talking very vivid BDSM stuff, and also some pictures that the owner sent back to Eccles. He was nice enough to send them back because he said they were scandalous. But there was also in that thing was a really interesting, which was a pre kind of publication draft of Devil's Knot by Merrill Leverett.
That's right.
Which indicated to me that they had seen that book before it was published. So to the public, that book looks like a third-party independent analysis. But if they had the pre-screener's copy, like that's what happened, like a B version or the beta reader version, in kind of like a manuscript form, like a paper binder, that means that they were looking at the book before it. And there's evidence in there that their attorneys, Reardon, who I mentioned earlier, and this other guy that I ran into in San Francisco, they had screened that book. They had analyzed it. So it wasn't, my understanding, in my opinion, it wasn't a third party like somebody who is, just interested in the case itself. There's something much more close between Leverett and Eccles. And I have videos of Leverett and Baldwin to bring up where she's just baloneying like the public with Baldwin at the same time. I'll bring that video up. I think I have it, but it just showed that there was more going on between that book. So they led on to the public that it was like just some third party writer,
right? So just some unconnected third party.
Correct. And there are pictures of Leverett with Eccles' wives too that were, I think, in that. I have that somewhere, so that they were close enough to spend time together for sure.
Are you up for a little bit more of this press conference? Because this is one of my favorite moments in the West Memphis Three. So for the audience that doesn't know, I was totally fooled by the West Memphis Three Paradise Lost movies. I was a listener when I believe William Ramsey was a guest on the Ed Opperman show talking about the West Memphis Three's guilt. I had never heard that before. So this sparked my whole looking into the case files and finding out, and making connections between other cases, and then reading the case files and looking into the facts of other cases. And this really started me. This is way before I had a podcast, was when I heard you talk. So I was totally fooled. But now I look at this press conference, and if you really look at it, it is so managed. It is so managed by the lawyers. There's a reason why the lawyers are standing behind them. They're carefully monitoring what is said, what is asked. I'm going to skip maybe past the first question.
My name is Jesse Kelly, 36 years old. I've been released from ADC, serving 18 years for crime I didn't commit.
You don't have the one. Are you with Lori? Okay, sir. Yeah.
Get Lori just come down here, right? Everybody else. Everybody, come on around here. Yeah, everybody. Yeah.
So everybody says a crime I didn't commit. So Baldwin did not want to take this plea deal, he said. But he explains, let me just skip past a little. They asked Damien Eccles how he felt. What a stupid question. How do you feel now that you're leaving death row? How do you think he feels? Terrible. But it goes into Jason Baldwin and why he took the deal. So let's get into it.
This is my client, Jason. Erin Casanelli, she and I worked together in Little Rock and is now part of the team.
Jeff Rosenzweig, and I represent Jesse Miskelly. Jesse's other lawyers, Michael Burt and Nancy Pemberton from California, could not.
Unfortunately, they couldn't come because our client keeps confessing so much. Right. They couldn't come because they were worried he might confess again publicly at this thing. So I'm the only one with the guts to show up to this thing.
And please don't mind the recorded confessions too, where they actually have him on audio saying it over and over again.
3 recorded confessions. Then when he got convicted, he confessed all the way in the back of the police car. But never mind that. We worried he might confess, so I have to stand right behind him again to make sure he doesn't confess again.
That guy right there to the left of Reardon is the guy I ran into in the restaurant in San Francisco. That's him with the mustache. I don't know his name. Forgot his name.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And the other mystery of this is also Bronca there, who's right in the center above Miss Kelly, because he is I think he is a partner at a firm in D.C. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
kind of like one of these things is not like the other. He didn't really belong in this group for some reason. I don't know why he's there. Like, it would make sense, like these are all criminal attorneys, but he has an interesting background. I need to look more into that. I don't remember, but I remember him. I don't think he's a criminal attorney, but he's there. His name's Bronco.
Yeah, and I think isn't he involved in the testing? I always thought I saw his name on the new things to
He's been
test. I
around.
thought
Maybe that's why he's there. I don't know.
well that it hadn't been a thing yet. The testing, the new DNA testing, totally came because of Bob Ruff, who was giving Damien Echols money, and when he decided to, look into the West to solve a solved crime with the West Memphis 3 and talk about the West Memphis 3 case, in minutia on his Innocence Fraud podcast is what I'd call it. He went right to Damien Echols' apartment in New York City and took off his shoes and yapped it up. And then he was giving money to Damien Echols on Patreon. So, and then he was presenting it to his audience like he's this non-interested, totally not invested, party. So, but it's Bob Ruff who wanted this DNA tested. And again, the West Memphis 3 were nervous about it.
And another non kind of objective analyst, like there's pictures of him hanging out with Eccles in New York City, like at his apartment.
That's
They're
right.
chatting. So it's like how much integrity do you have to the truth if you're really hanging out with these people?
Right. Going out to Artichoke Pizza, which I don't think exists anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think
It used to be everywhere. I always thought it was gross. But Damien Echols loved it. So he enjoyed it. Let me get back to this. I think, hold on one second. I'm having technical. Okay.
Steve Braga from Washington, D.C., represent Damien.
Donald Horgan from San Francisco, also represent Damien.
And Dennis Reardon from San Francisco as well, and I represent Damien.
Patrick Banka from Little Rock, and I represent Damien.
Laura Nyrider from the Center on Wrongful Convictions of Youth in Chicago.
Laura Nyrider, who tried to get Brendan Dassey, Teresa Hallback's, one of Teresa Hallback's murderer, from making a murderer out of prison. She is heavily involved in this wrongful conviction movement.
Damien.
And I'm Rachel Geiser. I'm the private investigator that helped work on Damien's case.
The private who came up with nothing, who came up with no new evidence whatsoever, so he had to plead guilty. Good job.
Thank you. Christina Geiby, Center on Wrongful Convictions of Youth.
I like to call it the center for blaming these murders on the folly of youth. That's what I call it.
Cheryl Herman. I am a legal assistant with Patrick Benka. Carol Benka. I'm Patrick Benka's wife and law partner.
Where do we begin?
Damien, 6 years ago I sat with you on death row and we talked about when this day would happen, and here it is. Can you describe what you are feeling in this moment?
Still very much in shock, still overwhelmed. You kind of have to take into consideration that I've spent almost the past decade in absolute solitary confinement, so I'm not used to being around anyone, much less this many people. It's kind of overwhelming.
Oh, poor Damien's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Poor Damien's overwhelmed. Do you have anything to say?
Such a sad sack. It's too bad. Yeah, he's just always like in solitary, but he also, you'll hear him say like, I was afraid of getting stabbed all the time too. So he says things that are inconsistent, like I had to look over my shoulder because I had to get stabbed. Well, you're either in solitary or you're about to get stabbed in general pop. He's not in general pop because death row is not general pop. It's a specific kind of.
Right. He said he was at a comedy show and he was scared. He's realized he's no longer scared of being shanked, although, pretty hard to be shanked on death row with when you don't have a cellmate or anyone else to worry about and you're being monitored all the time. Did you know that Amanda Knox interviewed Jason Baldwin like 6 months ago?
No.
And she has a new podcast called Hard Knocks.
Did you listen to it?
No, but I was thinking of sending it to you, but I don't know if you can.
Well, we should
stomach it.
listen to it. It'd probably be extraordinary.
I missed it. It's hard to keep up with all these guilty killers. Okay, here we go.
Damien, with the Alford plea, the judge said it was a plea he's not dealt with on his time on the bench.
Right.
You have to say, for the court's purpose, that you're guilty of a crime that you profess to the judge you did not commit.
Right.
Is this justice? Is this what you've been looking for?
It's not that he just has to say that he's guilty of a crime. He has to be a convicted murderer. He's a paroled killer. It's a little different than just having to go to court and say you're guilty. Like it's done, solved, end. He's like, well, we can continue to solve this case on the outside, and they did nothing. But
the part of their agreement was to never sue the state of Arkansas.
That's
they
right.
have to somehow go beyond what they signed with the best attorneys that they could get. Like, I don't know how they're going to do that. So a lot of this stuff has to just be for public consumption. It's just a court of public opinion.
They put on such a show, right? It's bittersweet. It's not perfect. Would you say if you were really innocent, if you said I had to say that I killed 3 8-year-old boys, would you say it's not perfect? Would that be the language that you would use?
No, I'd be
Baldwin
pissed.
comes in on this, and Baldwin picks up on this. And
It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means, but at least it brings closure to some areas and some aspects. You know, we can still bring up new evidence. We can still continue the investigations we've been doing. We can still try to clear our names. The only difference is now we can do it from the outside instead of having to sit in prison and do it.
Damien, Jesse, Jason, are any of you concerned about when you go out? There are some people who are still angry about this. Do you have concerns about that?
Very much, yeah.
Why not? Why do you think
I mean,
that?
I'm concerned because I mean, even when you're in prison, it goes on every day.
right, it goes on every day, no matter what your crime. He says he's concerned. Here's Baldwin. Okay, here we go.
Your question earlier, Damien, this was not justice, you know. In the beginning, we told them nothing but the truth, that we were innocent, and they sent us to prison for the
Right. Strangely, Jesse Miskelly told too much of the truth. He kept confessing. Baldwin wasn't allowed to take a polygraph, and Eccles failed. Right?
And no alibi in court for Jason Baldwin. Didn't
Right.
even provide an alibi. So if anybody says they know, none of them they all had alibis. They don't know the actual facts. And even Eccles' alibi of talking to girls on the phone was like the timing was off, if I remember correctly.
Right. No, totally. And then he told those girls that he was going, when he talked before he went out, he said, I'm going out with Jason.
rest of our lives for it. And then we had to come here, and the only thing that the state would do for us was to say, hey, we'll let you go, only if you admit guilt.
No, this was your idea. See, look how deceptive he is. This was your lawyer's idea. Not the state, not anyone else.
It's incredible. It really is an incredible case, just the pressure that they put on. And I think that one of the interesting things about Reardon is that he was working through legal means, appellate legal, as in like totally acceptable legal mechanics and motions to the court to get them out. But he also was involved, my understanding is that he was also involved in the PR stuff. So he's like, oh, where can we get favorable coverage? So that was the component of the helping to get these guys released. It wasn't just legal. It was also PR. And you mentioned that Lonnie Sorry guy.
Lonnie Surrey, and he got Marty Tankleff off, who it took me 2 years to find all the evidence to do a podcast on that. It's pretty much one of my favorite episodes I've done. It's
If
called,
you want to feel nauseated, look at all the people Lonnie Sorry represented, man. It's just like a rogues gallery. Like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but he has like all these people he's represented. It's just,
Marty Tankleff, very guilty,
Yeah.
very guilty.
Killed his own parents.
Right,
That's
Arlene and
sick.
Seymour Tankleff. And when Cuomo decided not to retry him because he got out on a technicality, and then they couldn't retry him for the murder of his mother, Arlene, he wrote a whole decision about why they were going to retry him, and it had nothing. He should not be in no way can be considered innocent and deserves no compensation. And that did not stop him from cleaning up with a multi-million-dollar compensation in multiple courts. And then he teaches young people at Georgetown University with Adnan Syed, Hayman Lee's killer, on how to get out other convicted murderers out of prison. That's what Marty Tankleff, he became a lawyer, and that's what he's doing. So
it's just incredible.
And that's not.
Yep. He also represented Keith Raniere's appeal, the Nexium cult cougar. So my episode is called "Did Keith Raniere's Lawyer Kill His Parents?" I'll try to link it in the description of this episode.
Justice, no matter how you look at it, they're not out there trying to find who really murdered those boys. And I did not want to take the deal from the get-go. However, they're trying to kill Damien, and sometimes you just got to fight the gun to save somebody.
Jason and I have talked about this, and I think it's important to say Jason was initially resistant to this proposal because it was against the principles and the things that we've been working for in this case. We achieved.
Yeah, because he has to have be a felon and a triple child killer forever.
Was there just a little bit of duper's delight there on Jason Baldwin's face when he said that? Did you notice him smile a
I
little
used
bit?
to be so convinced. I just see dystopian deep dives in the comments saying, no, she was never fooled. I was totally fooled. And if I hadn't been so fooled by the West Memphis 3 and other guilty killers, innocence fraud campaigns, maybe I would never be talking about any of this. But I found Jason Baldwin to be the most convincing. He does this all shucks, me routine. And if you listen to Jesse Miskelly's confessions, and also Damien Echols' cellmates, who Damien Echols confessed to, Jason was the most violent, vicious, and did most of the carving, not to go into detail, of any of the three.
They just can't comprehend how these guys were savages, man. They were leaving like pig heads on people's porches and running around with people and dogs. And Miss Kelly's talking about that. They just had no supervision. There was no real father around for Jason Baldwin at all, and his mom would disappear at times. And they were all in really rough trailer parks.
Right, but lots of people have rough childhoods. I mean, he was really, really I think still is, because he said in this press conference, he says, I'm going to go home to my friends and family. Then he got married to Holly Ballard, who he proposed to at a West Memphis 3 event. She was like a West Memphis 3 groupie that he married, a little like Damien Echols married Lori. And then they get divorced. Like, he's not around his friends. He's not around his family. It seems like he's just getting money from West Memphis 3 supporters. He doesn't ever, he's never had a steady job other than the wrongful conviction charity he had for a couple of years before it closed.
Yeah, didn't he set up something like that in Texas? Like a wrongful
Proclaimed Justice. Yeah,
Proclaimed Justice.
It was called. Right. But take a listen to how he's, and then we'll go on to other things. But just take a listen to how he's made to be a hero in this press conference quickly.
One of two goals today, and that was securing these young men's freedom. It didn't secure or get the ultimate goal, which is a finding that these young men are actually innocent beyond all doubt of the crimes for which they were convicted. Jason was initially...
It's like the illusory truth effect. If you just keep saying it over and over again, it makes it true. How many times are they going to say it? That they're innocent?
Just thousands and thousands and thousands.
That's right. That's right.
All the time. It's
so true.
They really got away with it. I mean, they really pulled it off.
I get brainwashed watching this. I'm like, wait, was I wrong? Like, I was just
reticent to this proposal as a matter of principle I can only imagine the Sophie's choice that he faced in agonizing over this decision. There are many reasons that Jason, I know, made this decision. And one of them was
he had no alibi and no new evidence, and even the DNA evidence that they didn't want to release, their own lawyer called weak evidence.
Right, no alibi. Incredible.
No evidence of anyone else doing anything. They've been looking for serial killers, other stepfathers. They ran out of stepfathers to blame this on, and so unfortunately they had to plead guilty.
It took another man off death row. Jason literally saved a human being's life today. That's an honorable position. That has integrity. I can tell you that I've been so proud to represent Jason. I am prouder to be his friend because of the nobility and the honor of what he did here today.
This guy represents child killers. He doesn't know integrity if it hit him in the face. You know?
This is what lawyers are capable of doing. That's what you should see this as, is just completely whitewashing some of the most horrific crimes imaginable. They're like, literally, they took one of the kids, tied him in ropes, and chucked him in the water. Jesse says he watched him wiggle like a worm. And one person had his genitals just savagely removed. A lot of people don't know this, but in the court documents, in the record of the police, there's like luminol tests that were never entered into court, but the pictures were taken, and there was blood all over these, the remnants of blood all over these bushes and leaves and stuff like that. And they were slicked over, like somebody had, the cop said somebody had slicked over the edge in the mud to go down into the ravine. And there, even in the luminol pictures, there was still evidence of blood, even after it was tried to clean up, or somebody tried to clean up. So really dark. Yeah, super dark.
Really dark. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted you to see the hug, the last moment of peace between Jason Baldwin and David Eccles.
He's a hero.
What's your name again, sir?
Blake Hendricks.
What about
H-E-N-D-R-I-X.
What about you, Damien? How difficult was this for you?
How what?
How difficult was it for you to make this decision?
To be honest, it wasn't that difficult. I'm just tired. You know, this has been
I'm just really guilty.
going on for over 18 years, and it's been an absolute living hell.
Yeah, let me just add a little bit onto that, because these decisions are client decisions. The decision Jason made, unbelievable, heroic. Damien's decision, different places. You can't judge, second guess these decisions unless you've been in their shoes. Spend 17 years on Varna.
I hope I don't get convicted for killing 3 8-year-old boys. I don't want to be in their shoes.
Right. They never. One of the things that's missing, that's omitted from this press conference, is anything about what happened in 1994 and the fact that they're saying they're guilty, and that this is probably left out. I think in another video, they're literally on tape saying, "What do you say to these charges? Guilty." They literally have to say it orally. So not only did they put it in writing that they are guilty of first-degree murder, they said it so the prosecutor and the state could have them saying it on the record. Unreal.
Okay, just waiting for the hug and then we can move on.
Most of the time in solitary, you could ask, did you really do the right thing? He's the only one who's been there. He made the right decision.
Every day in there.
Absolutely.
And what do you do now that, and Jason, in your mind, justice hasn't been served, but yet you're free? What will you do
I'm
now?
going to live my life the best I can and enjoy every moment of it.
What's the first thing you want to do?
I don't know. I'm just kind of, going with the flow right now.
Now that you're adjudicated,
My family and friends are, helping me and taking care of me.
Is there anything that any of y'all, or through your attorneys or yourself, could tell the investigators that might point them in a different direction or toward different suspects? Is there anything now that you've been adjudicated and you can't be held guilty for or found guilty for or charged with it? That
I know I can speak for everybody and say no. These kids are absolutely innocent of the crimes for which they are convicted. Therefore, they have no leads to even suggest. Completely innocent and aware of what happened out there at 10 Mile Bayou.
Jesse,
let me just point out one aspect of what happened today. These men not only walked out, they created today, by this plea, to me, proof positive of their innocence and the state's recognition of it. Because does anyone believe that if the state had even the slightest continuing conviction that they were guilty, that they would let these men free today?
I do. I do
too.
William, you want to answer that?
I totally do. I think they would, because they did it. So it's like, I mean, they had an interest of just kind of getting it off of their plate and not going through a grueling order. You have to see the effect of these 3 mockumentaries on the public mind and the state. Because
And campaign, people were writing postcards and
it was like, and they really, I think that Berlinger and Sanofsky did a good job of really maligning these people. Like, oh, the judge looks like a, jerk. I think his name was Barnett. And this is what's happening. And it happened. And one of the other insights into those 3 documentaries, if you want to see it, is that you had mentioned how they switched blame from one stepfather to the other. Jason's literally said, I'm 100% convinced it's John Mark Byers in the second documentary. And then the third one, it's Terry Hobbs all the way. And a lot of these followers and these slavish kind of West Memphis 3 cultists, or whatever you want to call them, they just never can comprehend that they changed their other alternate perp. Even Bob Ruff and some of these other people, like, these are enormous tells. But
no,
there was an incentive for the state to want. Yeah,
people can't believe it. They can't believe that everybody's self-interested. So if a politician, these are politicians letting them out. They have to get reelected. They want to get reelected. They want the public's love. And once you create this kind of demand for something, even if it's totally untrue and unjust, people will act in their own self-interest. They won't act for the public good. I think we expect these lawmakers to act in the public good or moral. What morality? There's no morality. They don't care about the victims' family members. They don't care, really. They care about themselves, their own family, and their own career. Is that unfair?
It's true, 100%. Like, when this new prosecutor, I wish I could remember his name, he literally says here, I don't believe there's anybody else that's guiltier than the 3 sitting here. He says it in another part of this conference. But, like, what's his interest to go through a grueling thing where his whole reputation will be thrown in the mud?
Right.
Right.
And just for time, unfortunately, they hug and he says, thanks for saving my life. And then they cut it short. First, they say Jason has to go, and then they cut it short. The link is in the description if you want to watch the whole thing. We just don't have time. We have so much stuff to I want to go through with you. Oh my!
You have to play one of my
We have to
favorite clips of all time, which is
I'm good. I'm doing it right now. Yeah, let's do that.
So
one.
great.
This is William Ramsey's favorite. I brought this up on X, and Piers Morgan blocked me due to my mocking of this clip. I'm still blocked by Piers Morgan. I know it's devastating to me, at least.
That's actually a badge of honor. Wow, good for you.
I'm also blocked by Damien Echols, and I thought I was blocked by Jason Baldwin, but apparently not. I don't know what I did wrong there.
It's probably on the horizon, I would expect.
How did you feel?
Other people know it was okay.
This guy here, sitting next to you, you come across to me, I've never met you before in my life, but you come across to me as somebody grounded, intelligent, eloquent, not the things you would associate with the portrayal of you in your court case of this devil-worshipping, satanic, occult-obsessed, weirdo, dangerous maniac who could be capable of killing 3 young children.
Do you notice how 3 young children is way at the end? He's a dangerous maniac, which you sort of kind of laugh off. What does this mean, William Ramsey?
It's the sign of silence. It goes back all the way through Masonry to the God-Harpocrates, but they use it as, like, you kind of say silent. Crowley does this hand gesture. These guys all have these people, like, have seen these Hollywood stars all making these weird hand gestures. That's what he's doing here as a magician. He's saying it to, like, the people who have been initiated, not the profane, that he is going to keep quiet. And maybe he's saying it right to Piers Morgan's face. Maybe Morgan is another Mason. I don't know, but or something else. But it's he knows what he's doing. He's made all these hand gestures before, and you'll see it. And even Dominique Tier there's a picture from the court cases where she's making this, hand gesture. And at first glance, it's not it, but this means I'm initiated. And you'll see Johnny Depp do it in some of these films, and Crowley used to do it. And so these guys were all part of these occult, some occult order back there in West Memphis, in my opinion.
So
And even Ed Opperman has done research on Dominique Tier's family. And apparently one of her aunts was like a witch in San Bernardino. And he had some quote where he's like, yeah, we drink blood. My mom drinks blood and I drink blood too. Like, what?
That's right.
And that's what Eccles admitted to, is at least licking blood.
He licks blood. Yeah. Someone got a nosebleed or something like that, or hurt. I remember it as a nosebleed, but maybe I'm wrong. And Eccles ran to lick it up. So do you think this has, do you believe that, like, it's dangerous, that Crowleyism is dangerous because why? I mean, what if they believe, my point is just to play devil's advocate, not even, excuse the pun, but why is it dangerous? I mean, could it just be an odd thing to believe?
Yeah, Crowley advocated this kind of idea of liberty or total freedom under your own will. So what that means is, like, you're above the law. You're above normal kind of human social standards. And what that allows you to do. And then Crowley advocated human sacrifice. There's absolutely no question about it. So he's advocating for a lot of stuff. And Crowley advocated for no barriers on sex, total drug use. So I think the outcomes of people who believe in this Crowleyism, his own religion, he called the Lima, are capable of doing things maybe the average person who wants to abide by social rules or the law, they do stuff that those types of people would never do. And so I think that this is maybe even kind of like Crowley inverts it, where these transgressive acts derive power to somebody. So you're doing things to get power from Satan or dark entities or things like that. And so Crowley had a lot of that stuff in his writing and conducted himself that way, drank blood, had these cakes of light.
Killed cats.
Killed cats, killed a cat. See if it had 9 lives. Just all kinds of stories that I included in my first book, Prophet.
Hurt women.
He was terrible. He's really a misogynist of the highest order, much like Jeffrey Epstein, where he saw women as almost like energy factories that he would try to take the spiritual energy out of them for his magical stuff. And if you see the before and after pictures of women he was with, they all look haunted. They all looked like drawn and like they went through something really horrible.
Because women are very intuitive, because we have to be, because I think, we're the physically weaker sex. So I think we're gifted this intuition that makes men like that very jealous and envious.
There's also,
among other things. Yeah.
I think that's true. There might be like some mom hatred. Like Crowley didn't like his mom, he liked his dad. So there might be like the anti-female bias, and it's also kind of like a dominant thing. I think that these guys saw themselves as like, I'm on a walk for power. So it's power over women too. I think Epstein was one of the great misogynists of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Like
he wanted to make New Mexico, like a factory, a birthing factory. And so did Keith Raniere, the NXIVM guru. So much of this, you won't be low if you're a woman hater, and, you won't be lonely. There's lots of them out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So listen to Jason Baldwin's answer about how Eccles was totally normal. Here we go.
You knew him very well. You were his best friend at the time. Put yourself aside for one moment. When you saw him described as this evil ringleader of mass murder, what were you thinking?
I knew everyone just had it wrong. They didn't know him, Like in high school, his mom fixed him lunches to carry to school in paper bags, And even then, with the high school kids, they joked. They'd be like, well, what you got in the bag, Damien? A cat? And he'd be like, yeah, but it'd be peanut butter and jelly and an apple or soda or something, So it was a joke to the kids, this, look and everything, this personal dress and goth look and stuff. So the children, it's fun, But when the adults got in and, the police and everything, and they twisted that and gave
Suddenly
it a
it's made to
sinister
look
thing.
sinister, yeah.
Yeah. And it
Wait, so for children, it's fun to think that has a cat, a dead cat in his lunch. Was it a dead cat or a live cat, or I
He
don't
had
know
skulls, like skull collection. Even his more recent art after his release had skulls of animals. And his mom said he used to keep those before the arrest in 1993. So maybe that's it. But yeah, it's so
I have another good one for you, and then maybe you could just another great one lined up. Hold on one second. Here we go. This is from Paradise Lost. And so I'll just read it out loud for those listening on podcast. Part of Damien and Jason's alibi was that he was with Jason at key moments during the day in question. Yet here Jason is stating that it seemed Damien done it, but if he was part of Damien's alibi, how could he not say, no, that's not impossible? Truth is none of the three.
Do you understand now why we didn't want you to testify?
Yeah.
And you see how it hurt Damien? I think it did. And you see how they talked about his witnesses?
Mm-hmm.
See, they didn't have anything to talk about us. They didn't have anything to talk about because we didn't give them a chance. And
I'm not going to put you up. This is Jason Baldwin talking to his lawyer in Paradise Lost. He's saying, I'm not going to put you up on the stand to lie. Damien Echols went up on the stand and lied, and it didn't serve him well.
right. So they didn't want him to get up there and get caught in a lie, right? So that's why he didn't testify in the alibi.
Yeah.
I have a video there that I don't know if it's going to play, but it is extraordinary because it's Leverett and Baldwin together in a studio where she's distorting the factual case record in a way that nobody really checks her for it. And maybe you can bring that on. I don't know.
Okay, 1 second. Let's just hear what Jason Baldwin asked if Damien Echols, he thinks Damien Echols did it. Take a listen. So we'll move on to that one.
oh man, it's heavy. Do you think that this will change at all? How you choose your friends?
Yeah.
What do you think this would do? What do you think this is going to do to you and Damien? You and your friendship with Damien?
Stop it, I guess. Yes.
Would you stop being his friend?
I wouldn't be his enemy, but after this, probably wouldn't be around for that.
You heard what was said about him. You think you could have done it?
About what they said?
Yeah, you think he could have? Do you think Damien could have killed those little boys?
They made it seem like he did.
All right, there we go. They made it seem like he did. I think he's guilty and no longer to be his friend.
Yeah, that's the part where that lawyer too was in that cutout scene where they found the blood on the necklace, right? That they didn't enter into court, but it had blood from Damien Echols and one of the boys, if I remember correctly. They had already started the trial when they found it. It was like a really gory kind of like medallion with a snake going through his skull's head or something.
That's right.
But yeah, I just
So
remember
can you
that.
put up
attorney
the
for that
video, or
scene.
do I have to?
I think you do. You have to just kind of bring it on screen. If you can click on that box that says Abomination Leverett.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, cool. There it is. This is really extraordinary. I think I can pause it.
Murder.
This is just true detective. He
Just tell
says
me
a
when
cult
to
ritual.
stop it.
Okay.
Okay.
I can do it too.
Oh, you can? Okay.
I think so.
For that. You want to hear this or not?
This actually is really extraordinary because it has the there's the big hug mug, famous symbol. But This interview was in front of an audience with Mara Leverett and Baldwin, and you can hear her if you know the real facts of the case. In the next clip, we will see author Mara Leverett, the supposed author of note in the West Memphis 3 murders, the author of the book Devil's Knot, upon which the film Devil's Knot was based. Talking to an audience.
Sorry, did you want to say something, William? I'm sorry.
No, can you hear the video? Can you hear the audio?
I can hear
though?
it. Can everybody hear it? Yeah. Okay.
I'll pause it when she starts baloneying. 2012. And on this panel on her far side is one of the West Memphis 3, Jason Baldwin. She also wrote a book about him titled Dark Spell. One of the fascinating things about the following clip is how she conveniently forgets crucial aspects of the court trial, where the whole family of the Hollingsworth witnessed both Damien Echols and his girlfriend, Dominique Tier, near the crime scene, all muddy. You have to see it to believe it. So this is right after their release, 2012, like one year after.
But everybody who is innocent can have an alibi, and Damien had an alibi, Jesse had an alibi, and I had an alibi.
You did not have an alibi. You did not testify in court with an alibi. He just said he had an alibi. Or somebody's lying about the court record. Jason Baldwin's telling a story here. He didn't have anyone he put on the stand during his trial as an alibi witness.
Just on that alone, we should have never been, prosecuted or tried or convicted, and, just on that alone, we should be found innocent now. So he's still working with that and with everything else, and at the same time, still hoping to find who actually committed the crime.
See Baron Everett, she nods along.
I think that Arkansas's got a responsibility here to exonerate these 3 guys.
This is how deep the mind control went. The whole audience is on board with this exoneration in 2012. My book had just come out right around now.
We have a responsibility.
This is the author of note, Mara Leverett, calling for the exoneration of the West Memphis 3 in 2012, right after they got out of court, and they have never been exonerated to this day in 2025.
To the victims.
Mara, what brought you to discover what happened? I mean, what pulls you?
Yeah, she asked the question, what brought you to discover what happened in this?
I had 2 kids living on a farm by a creek, and I knew they never came home from the creek without leaving all kinds of evidence.
So here she is saying that she had 2 boys who went down to creeks and never came home without any evidence. So,
and I thought, you're telling me that 3 teenage boys killed 3 kids and murdered them and stuffed them down in a creek, and then they came home and walked to homes miles away and nobody saw them, and there wasn't any mud or anything in the houses?
This is just such an incredible statement if you know the court case. This is the author of note, Mara Leverett, upon which the book and movie are based. Listen to this again.
And I thought, you're telling me that 3 teenage boys killed 3 kids and murdered them and stuffed them down in a creek, and then they came home and walked to homes miles away and nobody saw them, and there wasn't any mud or anything in the houses?
3 members of the Hollingsworth family testified in court that they saw Damien and Dominique near the murder scene on the night of the murder. And it could have been Baldwin, by the way. It could have been Jason Baldwin, but people thought it was Dominique Tier. But they said it in this thing. Narlene Hollingsworth testified on March 3rd, 1994, that she left the trailer park at 9:30 with her kids, drove down the service road near Love's gas station to get a relative who got off work, and saw Echols and Tier walking on the service road near Love's Blue Beacon. Narlene Hollingsworth knew Dominique Tier since she was an infant and had her on her knee. She said that Echols wore black pants and a dark shirt. She felt suddenly ill. Her husband also testified at court that he was in the car, that he saw Echols and Tier walking on the road in all black clothing that appeared dirty. So that's directly contravenes what Mara Leverett just said that she just said nobody could believe it. Nobody saw him, and nobody saw them dirty. So this is what was said in court. Anthony and Narlene Hollingsworth saw them dirty in court. And they both identified Eccles in court. Here they are again. This is Fogelman asking Hollingsworth. We saw Damien and Domini. All right. Is the person you refer to as Damien in the courtroom? Yes, sir. Can you point him out to the jury? He's right there. Which one? The black-headed. May the court reflect the witness to identify the defendant. May it so reflect. So here's the prosecutor saying, Damien and Domini, is the person you refer to as Damien, is he in the courtroom? Yes, he's right there. Which one? The black-haired one. Your Honor, move to effect the witness identified by the defendant. Then the daughter, 17, testified at the Miss Kelly trial, January 27th, 1994. She said she saw them walking by the Blue Beacon. Black pants, black shirt. Both had clothes that were kind of muddy. So this is inconsistent with the statement that Mara Leverett just made. And here are their statements near the time of the arrest in 93 where they say the same thing. Holes in her purse, they was very muddy. Their grammar isn't very good, but that's Tabitha Hollingsworth.
Wow.
It's literally right in the court records. So Mara Leverett could have seen this.
What's your opinion, William? Do you think it was Domini, or do you think it was Jason? Or
I'm thinking it's Domini, but some people have said it could have been Jason. But I think that if that woman, Narlene, had known Tier since she was, for 15 years, since she was a baby, I would think that she would have been able to identify him. And I do think it's consistent. I think that there may have been more people there. So the three got arrested to it, but there's so many strange events that happened on the night of, was it May 3rd, 1993, or May 5th, excuse me, that I think there might have been other people, Dominique Tier, and then you had the Bojangles guy. How strange is it that this horrible murder happens, and then some African-American guy covered in blood goes to a truck stop and locks himself in the bathroom, and he's covered in either mud or feces and blood.
I know, but he had his arm in a sling. You think he was? I don't know. Maybe he took part in it, or maybe it was something else. I don't know.
But it's not that far. It's like 100 yards or 200 yards from the crime site. Yeah, I don't think it's very far. So it's like a strange events have happened. So I think, but I think the real takeaway from that is like, what is Mara Leverett doing? Like denying these core elements of the case, that Eccles was seen close to the crime scene on the night muddy. And this whole like bank or whatever, the bayou area, it's really kind of like for people who don't know, like there was a flood, like almost river type thing. And this was a tributary or a small creek that fed into that. And like, it is super muddy. The pictures of that time are like, it's all wet and there's water in there. So like you would have to have been muddy. So Mara Leverett is very suspicious. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
Well, she said
and then Jason goes on and talks about the Dan Nam stuff. And then Dan Nam says, oh, I take it back. I was mistaken when I said this took place on 5/5/93. So Baldwin in this video is saying that Dan Nam saw him at Walmart, and then Dan Nam retracts his statement. So he's telling this to a credulous public who isn't familiar with the court case, which you can't really blame them. But they've gotten away with so many lies. Like I did that video you mentioned earlier, the lies of Damien Eccles. Like he's lying. They're lying. And like I said, I always say it before, it's kind of a badge of honor. It's been almost 15 years. I have not been sued. Not been sued for anything.
True.
I've been harassed like crazy, but I haven't been sued.
That's true. And they have the money to sue and the time. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't always mean something when you're not sued if you're slandering, but they have the money, the time, the connection to all the best lawyers. I'm surprised.
The best. They could get the best lawyers. I think it would be like a boomerang effect, though, because, I'm not like I'm not published with a major publisher or anything like that. So it would be like bringing attention to something they would rather just go away. I think they just chose to just harass me and say I was crazy and my book makes no sense.
Well, I was just looking at one of their propaganda videos, and in the comment section, someone wrote, read William Ramsey's book. So people are still talking about it.
I was just featured on the guy who reads books, so it's still there. Like I forgot his name now, but he like reviews books and stuff like that. So he recommended Abomination. So it's still, I think it's still credit. It's a good starting point, guys. There's really great. I mean, Roberta Glass is a great resource for the West Memphis 3. Also, Molinax and the Black on was it Blood on Black?
Gary Meese.
Gary Meese, thank you. Those are all other good places to go get information. And I was looking for that video you mentioned earlier. I couldn't find it. Was
Which
it?
one?
You said there was somebody who put out a new video about the West.
Oh,
Memphis
I'll
3.
send it to you. It's
Okay.
called like what were the West Memphis 3 really guilty? And it's got a ton of views. I think, it just exploded. And she goes through the evidence and or at least I just seen the beginning of it. I got kind of frustrated with her, and I know it's very fair, but just sort of her dispassionate. I get tired of people who pretend like they don't have an opinion on YouTube. Like just, like,
Right.
hey, we're going to look at this side, but they say on this side, and she never chooses which side she's on, but it's kind of, maybe I'll like it better by the end of the video. It's really not fair to judge without watching the whole thing, but that's why I got frustrated and turned it off.
They're still talking about it to this day. Like it hasn't gone away. It's been forever. 35 years or whatever, 32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's hard, right? It can be freaks. It's just that they want to be popular. Exactly. And, I did all this where I made myself incredibly unpopular talking about these kind of very, popular cases, because what I found is that most people don't care about the evidence. If they just sort of, most people just sort of skate through life and they get impressions. And because this was such a PR event, most people get the impression that these were the kind of people who couldn't do this. Now that Damien Echols is out of prison and he looks like a disturbed maniac that matches the record, I think it's opened up the conversation. But when they had him in prison from death row giving these interviews, very managed, very controlled, very scripted, he could be very convincing.
And I think that's what he does on his PR. It's all very managed and controlled. Like you'll only go on certain things where they ask him certain questions. So you don't really see what's going on behind the scenes.
So before, do you have a little bit of time or do you have to go?
Sure.
You got a little bit of time?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. One more thing. I just want to show, this is another great William Ramsey video. Hold on. Do I have it up? Yeah. Here we go. Whoop. This is called The Lies of Damien Echols. It's on William Ramsey's channel. But it took me a little bit to find this.
Yeah,
like when I put in The Lies of Damien Echols, it didn't come up. I mean, that's the title exactly. Right? Everything came up about their innocence. So.
Not surprised.
The question that some people want to say is, well, what was his alibi? What were you doing? Why would police come to you? What was your alibi?
I had an entire day mapped out at that time period. There were many people that had saw me. At the time that the police say the murders took place, I was actually on the phone with 3 different people. The problem was the attorneys I had at the time, the public defenders, never even called them to the witness stand, never even asked them about this kind of stuff. I was on the time that they say the murders happened, I was on the phone with 3 different people. The attorneys that I had were so incompetent, it boggles the imagination. I asked them, why aren't you going to call these people up on the stand so that they can testify that they were on the phone with me? And they would say, we don't need them. The state's case is so weak and ridiculous as it is, there's no point in even wasting time on this.
For people who don't know, Echols was in 3 mental health institutions, 2 in Arkansas and 1 in
And I
Oregon.
asked you earlier, how do you keep sane in your
cell on death row, but the fact is, before this trial, you spent time in a mental institution.
I did when I was younger for depression, and that was what led the cops initially to start focusing on me, is because there used to be this cop named Jerry Driver who he was like a juvenile officer, and I had run-ins with him over and over and over again. And part of the reason is because he used to come through our neighborhood and pick up teenage boys and tell them unless they gave him oral sex, he was going to take them to jail, press charges against him.
Driver was convinced that the murders were the work of Damien Echols, and he told that to the police.
Let's go back to 1993. Had you, that area, that Robin Hills area, was that an area that you were familiar with or had ever been in?
No.
To 1993. Had you, that area, that Robin Hills area, was that an area that you were familiar with or had ever been in?
No.
He literally lived across the street from there, from the Robin Hills, in an apartment, like a year before the event. So,
And didn't he testify that he
That's
went,
actually
he walked around the
People
area?
always call us the West Memphis Three, but we actually weren't from West Memphis. We were from a small town right outside of West Memphis called Marion, which almost no one knows where it is. And being that West Memphis is the closest thing to Marion, it's just sort of, people look at it as being almost the same place. And all of the dealings we had were with West Memphis Police Department. So West Memphis wasn't a place that I went to a great deal of time. You know, I went to school in Marion. I lived in Marion. So I didn't really go to West Memphis a lot at all.
So where these murders took place, that was not an area that
No, because that would have been a residential area, a wooded area close to a residential area. You know, there weren't any, if I went to West Memphis, it would have been to do something like, say, go to Walmart, you know, go to the grocery store, something like that. So it wouldn't have been in a residential area anymore.
I love this person for remembering this. Do you remember when Damien Echols taught a LA yoga
Police,
class?
the prosecutor, the judge,
yes, I remember
the jury, all of them got it wrong?
In our opinion, yes. In our opinion, yes.
that's one of his many attorneys. He had tons of different attorneys.
Everybody got it wrong. 2 trials, 2 juries, everyone got it
Defense
wrong.
attorneys claim the confession.
They pled guilty.
He couldn't even get a single detail of the crime right. They would ask him things like, well, what time did this happen? He says, 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, they knew that was a lie. They knew it wasn't true because the kids were in school at 8 o'clock in the morning. They didn't care.
Both buyers, Michael Moore and Stevie Branch, were found naked and hogtied in a West Memphis ditch. Prosecutors say the murders were part of a satanic ritual.
You had nothing to do with any of this.
Absolutely nothing.
Little Duper's delight. Absolutely nothing. Right.
Here's a sob story.
Back when I first came into the prison, the guards, I guess they decided they were going to throw me a welcome to the neighborhood party. So they put a knife in my cell and carried me back to the part of the prison they called a hole, where for the next 3 weeks they beat me, they starved me, and they tortured me in just about every way you can torture a human being. They beat me so bad I pissed blood. One of the things they did is they messed up my teeth. They caused a lot of damage in my teeth. Well, in prison, there are no root canals. There are no crowns. There are no caps. I was in more pain than most people can imagine. Imagine the absolute worst toothache you've ever had in your life, and then imagine it multiplied by 10, and then imagining it lasting for years. Well, there was nothing I could do. You know, they told me, deal with the pain as long as you can, and then when you can't take it anymore, we'll pull your teeth out. I didn't want to live with no teeth. I didn't want to have to come and face my family with no teeth because I was beaten by a bunch of prison guards. So I had to learn things like Reiki, Qigong, therapeutic touch, you know, different types of meditation that allows you to deal with pain and physical illness and ailments. And
this was in what facility, your original facility?
That was in the one over there, yeah.
You have teeth now.
Exactly. It's allowed me to, these practices has allowed me to deal with the pain and keep it at bay enough to hold out.
Almost looks like he's trying to keep from laughing, like at the end there.
You know, I get pulled in every time he says that. I get pulled in. I get pulled in. I'm like, oh, are there no
So,
crowds in
after these boys
death
died,
row?
how did you get pinpointed as one of the killers?
Back then, things have changed a lot in the almost 20 years that I've been locked up. Now I'll see things on television. You'll have housewives that get tattoos and nose rings and things like that. And it wasn't like that back in 1993 in small town Arkansas.
Back then when this happened, what do you think it was that made the community, the state even, surrounding states, so certain that you guys were the ones that were involved in this?
This was 1993. Things were a lot different back then, even than they are now. Now you have housewives who have tattoos. And it wasn't really like that back then, at least not in Arkansas.
He literally says the same thing to a different interviewer.
Right, but like he's saying it for the first time, like he's thinking it up as that's what's so interesting about it, is that he's
got the acting gestures or something.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's me. Hold on 1 second. Let me just start playing something.
There's so many videos, guys. I did a lot of videos back in the day. You can see them on my YouTube channel. I think it's under William Ramsey Investigates. I don't know which YouTube channel it is, but
that is William Ramsey. The link is in the description of this episode, so you could find the video and then watch the other stuff that you've done. Great stuff, but I mean, he says it like he's remembering it for the first time. I mean, it wasn't really like that back then. It's exactly the same line with just a different line reading, and I'm getting pulled in with the teeth stuff. I used to get mad at Ed Opperman where he say, "Well, he's saying he has no teeth," and then the interviewer pointed out, that's not exactly fair. He's saying that it got him through. He learned meditation so he could keep his teeth through all this pain because they were just going to pull his teeth in death row. But I think they do actually do some preventative medicine for death row inmates, teeth wise. That's what I've heard, but I don't know what's going on in Arkansas.
It's such an incredible story. Once you realize these guys have prevaricated their way through it, it's just like, wow, they really got out. It's really something else.
You're always with me. Our links are in the description of this episode. Go to West Memphis 3 Facts. At least you can get the other side of it, because you won't get it in our mainstream media. There's been probably 0 factual articles written in our mainstream media, meaning our national media, on this case. It's all West Memphis 3 propaganda, and it doesn't resemble what's actually in the court records at all or the case files. Would you agree with that?
100%. I don't think there's been anything that's really been super critical about them. I just don't know where it is. And they're just ignoring. I think it's just part of the agenda. It's just like anything from the Midwest is bad. They've been railroaded. It's part of the innocence fraud that you talk a lot about. And the court system's inherently corrupt and biased, and I just didn't see that in this case. I didn't see it at all. But it didn't happen in a vacuum. They had people outside who helped. Propagandists is really what did it. This is really one of the most chilling of all the pictures in the West Memphis 3 is this picture, if you can bring it up. But it's literally 3 convicted criminals being heralded at HBO. They're on a stand, and there's the directors of the Paradise Lost trilogy. Berlinger is still around, and Sanofsky, who's passed away, and the woman's name, I always forget it, but she was the head of HBO documentaries, and she's seen as some wizard, some great person or something like that. But they put out this trilogy out that are really mockumentaries. They're closer to Spinal Tap than a real documentary, but they're presented to the public. And for people who haven't been around the West Memphis 3, Roberta and I have probably had it so many times. I know everything about the case. I've watched all 3 documentaries. I've heard
That's right.
If you talk
I always
about,
can tell. I always can tell who's seen the documentaries because they come with the talking points. Even today, I got the same talking point. I got a notification. Someone left a message, a comment on one of my West Memphis 3 videos that they wouldn't let them out if they were really guilty.
Yeah, they're still guilty at law.
Politicians have morals, and come on.
Why are they still guilty at law? Why are they still guilty at law?
Yeah,
that's really the question. Because the Arkansas courts do not think they're innocent. They're not. There's not somebody internally within the state saying these guys need a due and fair trial. It's not happening. It's never happened.
Right.
It's just somebody outside of it. Yeah.
You would think naturally human beings tend to make mistakes. It's pretty amazing in 2 different trials that they didn't make any significant mistakes enough to overturn this conviction. The way that they were looking for any little thing.
One of the things that's often overlooked is that this was thoroughly appealed. It went to the Arkansas Supreme Court. So the Arkansas Supreme Court has its appeal. He's like, I think they sent it down for one minor thing, like after 93. And then their attorneys applied for a writ of certiorari in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, and it got rejected. So like the court system functions as it's supposed to. And they always leave that out. They always leave these kind of salient elements like, oh, they were denied their due process. No, they weren't. Nope. They were not denied their due process.
Yeah,
Actually, they were over-processed in a way because they were able to get the best lawyers and get a guilty plea and get out.
Right.
It's very strange.
Which they all just throw under the bus except Jason Baldwin was the only one who did anything. He filed one motion after he got out. Eccles was off with Johnny Depp. He was staying in, of course, I always do this every single time, and you just said his name maybe like
Peter Jackson.
Thank you. I always forget it because I don't like him. I don't know.
He went to New Zealand to hang out with Jackson. Right. Yeah.
He stayed in Jackson's apartment in New York, which is, he was basically
seen with Ozzy Osbourne.
Right.
He was at the Golden Gods.
Did he stay at Ozzy Osbourne's house? I didn't know that.
No, but there's a picture of him and Ozzy together. Oh. He was also a lot with Marilyn Manson, so he's pictured together. Right. So he's kind of like this cause celeb, person amongst all those people. I think I have a picture of it. Here
Did anyone ever send Marilyn Manson's picture of Dita Van Teese, the burlesque personality? She had a cat named Aleister Crowley. Did anyone?
Oh, really? No, I don't
that?
know.
No,
I didn't know
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Here he is with Ozzy. If you can bring that up.
Okay, here we go. Oh, it's sad. It was always so disappointing. Like Ween, I'm from that area of Pennsylvania. They used to pump my gas. Mickey Melchiano used to pump my gas growing up. They were friends of my friends. I was never friends directly with them, but they just did songs to support the West Memphis 3 to release them. They donated their songs, and at West Memphis 3 released the West Memphis 3 album, and they're still. Right. Also, the South Park guys went to some award show with West Memphis 3 T-shirts. Right? Yeah, there's lots of people that I always find it just like so disappointing. What
was the other girl? Winona Ryder was a supporter.
Winona Ryder. A lot of the people who got fooled with JT Leroy, which was another thing, which I wasn't fooled by. Strangely, I wasn't. I knew immediately that something was up with JT Leroy, and that was some kind of phoniness. I didn't know exactly what, but I knew it was, that biography of that author. But a lot of those people ended up being West Memphis 3 supporters. The other one is, who is the one? Chloe, is that her name? Chloe Sevigny? She was.
Oh, Chloe Sevigny or Sevigny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who was in Kids. And she wrote something in New York, the New York Times, about how excited she was to see Damien Eccles when she got off the subway in New York. I mean, it's all just like a big wah, wah, like disappointment when I find out these things about people. But I was fooled, but I just think the egos are too big. There's so much narcissism. I find that just in doing these episodes, there are 2 kinds of people. There's people who have been fooled and go, oh, that's interesting. I never heard that. Let me look into it. Those are my people. Those are my kind of people. And then there's the other kind of people. And I would say those are the majority kind of people, or these kind of people who get angry, who double down no matter how little they know, will double down on their opinion, argue it all day long, even if they don't know much. And they don't want to admit they've been fooled. It's too painful to admit that they've been bamboozled.
And you can't blame them if you've dedicated a lot to it. One of the interesting phenomenons that I've seen with the West Memphis 3 is nobody goes from reading the court cases to the 3 documentaries. It's always from the 3 documentaries, and then they go, hey, there's court cases. There is? Oh, I'll read that. Oh,
that's right.
I was deceived. They never flip back before. I can't even think of anything
Right.
in the 15 years I've been researching this.
Just to clarify, William, a lot of these people haven't given anything, have just seen one of the 3 movies and have an opinion and will argue it all day long and be angry and insult you and say that there's something morally wrong with your character that you have this opinion. I told you I nearly lost my best friend of 40 years over this case.
Wow.
We laterly, our friendship blew up over Israel, my support of Israel, but that finally did it in. But this almost did it. We had to agree to not talk about it. I mean, people really bond with these convicted child killers.
Don't you think that the innocence fraud and all this stuff, there's something inherent in people where they feel sorry for the little guy, and then the PR constructs this person to be sold, this persona sold to the public, that this is a poor guy being abused by the big bad system, and that it's just like an archetype that's some people are very prone to. Would you agree with that?
Right. Well, I think that we've all been falsely accused of something. These were falsely convicted, so that's a little bit, but that gives us a little opening. Most people, I always talk about when I was at summer camp and I was falsely accused of taking $20 or something. I mean, it was horrible. I remember it, but it's much harder to imagine being the victim's family members. We don't see the victim's family members. Even though you're more likely to know someone or be a victim of a crime yourself than be falsely convicted of a crime that you didn't commit. But I think it's easier to imagine. And also that we tend to, I think, one of my guests made this point. It was such a good point. We tend to sympathize with what's in front of us. So if Damien Echols is in front of us, we'll sympathize with him. And so seldom are any victims' family members or siblings or friends interviewed. It's not the thing and when I interview victims' family members, it gets, very few views. There's not a lot of money in it. People don't want to be bummed out. But I don't really understand because they'll watch 1 million killer interviews. I guess they don't find that that doesn't bum them out,
It's interesting. It's a really good point. Because you read these people on this, the true crime stories, and the families are just devastated. Whether it's Adnan Science family's victim, the Korean family, or
Heyman Lee's family,
all the families here.
Awful. They never get over it. It's a life sentence of grief they've been sentenced to, and it really doesn't get better. I get angry when they say, "Oh, they can heal and move on." They don't heal and move on. They don't.
They get re-traumatized. The Innocence
right.
Project is re-traumatizing people, in my opinion. Like, wow. Like that's why you have the court system. Like, wow.
Just quickly, someone said to me, the victim always has to be re-victimized, and I thought, oh, what a cynical, cruel thing to say. But it's turned out to be totally true, and maybe one of the best pieces of advice. They always have to the victim always does have to be re-victimized somehow in the process of all this. That tends to be the one constant in all these stories. So
it really is, and it's a sad truth.
Bummer note.
Yeah, it's a sad truth, and it's kind of going on now. Like it's just like Echols has taken the apex of the publicity and everything, and the woe is me, the sad sack story, and like you forget about the 3 kids who didn't get to live their lives. So,
when Dave McGowan was on a show with you, R.I.P. Author, and he said, this was never been about the West Memphis 3. This has always been about Damien Echols and what was a relentless campaign to free him. Could not be more accurate. This was never about really the 3. It was always about Damien Echols, and I always said that. I think I said this before, but Baldwin was like his Sal Mineo to his James Dean. I hope people still know who that is.
I think it's true. It's a good analogy. I think it just shows how McGowan understood stuff right away. Like
so bright. Yeah.
he was just super bright. It's really a loss, but he was right. And he argued with a lot of people online on Facebook. I have some of the screenshots somewhere, but like he was always like, he had those positions too. I don't know if he wrote them before or after, but we were on Opperman together.
Yep,
Talking about
that's a
the West
great
Memphis
episode.
Three.
If you can look it up, William Ramsey and Dave McGowan talking about the West Memphis Three. It's a fun episode. But yeah, now also speaking of, I see lots of people making videos totally based on Dave McGowan's weird scenes inside the Canon book, and they're getting huge views on it.
Wow. Good
And some
for
of
them.
them don't even reference the book. I'm like, where are you getting
that's
this
not
information? I
good.
knew where they were getting it, but a lot of them do. Some of them do, but some of them don't. I'm like, I know where you got this information. This is his theory. I don't know how, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's certainly fun to think about. I don't know.
They're still remembering Program to Kill and weird scenes. They have gone. Joe Rogan keeps mentioning weird scenes, but he can't remember Dave McGowan's name. And then Tim Dillon went on there and named it. He's like, Dave McGowan. He's like, so hats off to Tim Dillon for saying that. But he'll be remembered.
Isn't he going off about Charlie Kirk's, how it's a conspiracy? It's something.
Who is?
That's what Tim Dillon. That's what I hear.
Oh,
I don't know. I
so.
don't watch him. That's what I hear.
He does a lot of stuff. I think he covers kind of. I've talked to him about the Smiley Face Killers back in the day. Like I have the exchange, yeah. But I think he has a conspiratorial angle or parapolitical angle that he's kind of toned down. But yeah, he covers some of those topics, yeah, for sure. I think he saw like the Trump assassination in 2024 at Butler fake. I think he was willing to contemplate that as being fake. I don't know. I had a guest on today.
What does that mean? The person that died in that, does that mean he's alive or is he?
No, but like the shot at Trump wasn't meant to kill him, but everything else. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, me neither. All right, William Ramsey, this has been too packed with a lot of fun, but we'll have to check in next month when the DNA results, this non-DNA case comes back with DNA. Do you think they'll release them?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll be on the edge of my chair. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath for Jason Baldwin's book either. So
no, me neither.
Yeah. I mean, hold people. I mean, that would be incredible if he published a book. I mean, I'd be interested to see what he said about that. But this West Memphis 3 case is really one of the most amazing cases in American history, true crime cases, not just for the case in itself, the fact pattern and the legal thing, but so many episodes on so many shows. Like the prosecutors covered them for 20. Bob Ruff did untold numbers of shows. I couldn't even listen to them. There's just in these books and an industry. It's just a whole story in itself. And all these people have written books. Dark Spell and Terry Hobbs wrote Box Full of Nightmares, I think it was, which I interviewed him about. Totally innocent guys. Come on. And then the connection to John Douglas, who wrote about this, and one of his was like the John Douglas story involvement in West Memphis Street is crazy. And Offshee, who's like also on False Memory Foundation board or whatever, syndrome board.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like he testified on this. Like the connection to so many of these things on American zeitgeist and culture is really something else.
Right. They all go in and out of the cases. We gotta do this again, William Ramsey.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know what I found out about Douglas? He also worked with the John Bonet family. He was involved with John Bonet Ramsey's dad as doing the same thing for the West Memphis 3. So, but yeah, my podcast is William Ramsey Investigates. I've got a book, Abomination. You can read about this saga. I haven't updated it. It's still there from 2012. And then I'm pretty active on Patreon, so people can check out my Patreon. They can listen to my shows ad-free there. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to talk with you again.
Yeah, I'd love for you to write a new chapter, maybe when those DNA, whatever they are, results come out. To me, they don't really matter. But
I could do another volume 2 on just all of the shows and just how it affected the zeitgeist. Like It's almost
Sure.
every true crime podcast has to cover the West Memphis 3 in one way or another, and most of them aren't that great.
Oh, most of them are terrible. They were like right from the movies. They just turn on the movies and then just repeat them. So, all right, please support the channel. Venmo, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon. Links are in the description of this and every episode. Hit the thumbs up on your way out. William Ramsey, thank you so much.
Thanks,
This was
Roberta.
really fun.
Great to be with you. Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks.
Me too.
Peace.
All right, peace.
Till next time.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact-focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard task warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy. Exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.